Chapter 9. Do not think that there is an entity called I.
The Buddha said, "Did Subhuti ever hear of the 10 shackles?" Subhuti replied, "The Buddha once explained it to me. I heard that the 10 shackles are as follows. First, the erroneous view that there is an entity of one's own soul. Second, the erroneous view that liberation can only be attained through adherence to formal discipline. Third, doubts about enlightenment. Fourth, sensual desire. Fifth, angry heart. Sixth, desire for the celestial realm, or realm of form. Seventh, desire for pure consciousness, or realm of formlessness. Eighth, conceit for enlightenment. Ninth, restless or anxious. 10th, foolishness not knowing the Four Noble Truths. I heard that Has Subhuti ever heard of Stream Enterer? That's right, Buddha. Stream Enterer means to be born again in the realm of desire within the next 7 times and achieve liberation. Stream Enterer is the level of not being attached to the following 6 things: beauty to be seen, good sound to hear, nice scent to smell, good taste in the mouth, soft touch to touch, and any fixed dharma of enlightenment. Again, the Buddha told Subhuti, "Then, can one who has attained Stream Enterer think, I have reached the level of Stream Enterer? Or achieving the level of Stream Enterer is my achievement?" Subhuti replied, "No, Buddha. To say that Stream Enterer has freed himself from 3 of the 10 shackles and has entered the state of a sage does not mean that he has become Stream Enterer because of some fixed dharma. However, when referring to it, it is merely called Stream Enterer. If he thinks, I have reached the level of Stream Enterer, then he is attached to the entity of the soul. Has Subhuti ever heard of Once Returner? That's right, Buddha. Once Returner means liberation after being reborn once again in the realm of desire. And Once Returner still has the artificial intention of enlightenment. Again, the Buddha told, "Then, can one who has attained Once Returner think, I have reached the level of Once Returner? Or achieving the level of Once Returner is my achievement?" Subhuti replied, "No, Buddha. The reason is to say that Once Returner has freed himself from 5 of the 10 shackles and is reborn once in the realm of desire does not mean that he become to be reborn once in the realm of desire because of some fixed dharma. However, when referring to it, it is merely saying it has reached the level of Once Returner." Has Subhuti ever heard of non-returner? That's right, Buddha. Non-returner means never to be born again in the realm of desire, but to attain liberation after being born once in the realm of form. Non-returner is a being who has extinguished sensual desires and angry hearts. Again, the Buddha told, then, can one who has attained non-returner think, I have attained the level of non-returner, or achieving the level of non-returner is my achievement? Subhuti replied, no, Buddha. For when it is said that non-returner is freed from 8 of 10 shackles and not reborn in the realm of desire, in reality, there is no fixed dharma that is not reborn in the realm of desire. However, when referring to it, it is merely saying it has reached the level of non-returner. Has Subhuti ever heard of Arahant? That's right, Buddha. Arahant does not samsara as a perfected saint, and his mind is always calm and peaceful. Again, the Buddha told, if so, can one who has attained Arahant think, I have reached the level of Arahant, or achieving the level of Arahant is my achievement? Subhuti replied, no, Buddha. It is said that he has reached the level of Arahant because he has freed himself from all 10 shackles. However, those who realize that there is no fixed dharma to reach Arahant are called Arahant. Buddha, if I think that I have attained the level of Arahant by myself, this would be clinging to the idea that I have a soul of my own. The Buddha told me that I am the most outstanding among those who have freed themselves from all suffering and attained tranquility of mind. But, Buddha, I don't think that I'm an Arahant who's out of desire. If I thought that I had reached the level of Arahant, the Buddha would not have said that Subhuti is the best among those who do not stay anywhere and stays calm without any conflict. However, since I do not think I have actually reached the level of Arahant, the Buddha says that Subhuti is one who does not stay anywhere and stays calm in his mind without any conflict.
Chapter 10. The mind that does not stay anywhere makes the Buddha land holy and beautiful.
The Buddha told Subhuti again, how about this, Subhuti? Does Subhuti think that I have any dharma that I have acquired from karmic affinity with Lotus Lantern Buddha in my previous life? No, Buddha. The Buddha never attained any dharma about enlightenment in previous lives. The Buddha told Subhuti, Subhuti, how about this? Does the enlightened one make this world holy and beautiful? No, Buddha, because what makes this world holy and beautiful is just its name. Again, the Buddha told, therefore, in order for a good person to seek enlightenment, he must develop a mind that is not bound by names, that is, a mind that does not stay anywhere. Under no circumstances should the mind of staying arise. Not only that, beauty to be seen, good sound to hear, nice scent to smell, good taste in the mouth, soft touch to touch, and the fixed dharma of enlightenment, the mind of staying, should never arise on these 6 things. This is the second 4 verses of the Diamond Sutra, and is an important verse. Subhuti. How about this? If there is a giant, and the size of the giant's body is as big as the Sumera mountain, which is so big that you can't see the end, how can the giant's body be said to be big? Subhuti replied, it's an incredibly large body. The Buddha said that a large body is the same as a not large body, so it is a large body. Because no matter how big a body is, there is no entity. So, the Buddha saw through a large body as not a large body. In other words, a large body is the same as a not large body, but it is referred to as a large body.
Chapter 11. What it means to break away from conditioned behavior.
The Buddha told, if there are as many Ganges rivers as there are grains of sand in the Ganges river, can it be said that there are as many grains of sand in all Ganges rivers? Subhuti replied, a lot of it, Buddha. The number of Ganges rivers alone is innumerable, and the number of grains of sand in them is needless to say. Again, the Buddha told, I'll tell Subhuti something more important. So listen carefully. If a person builds innumerable temples of great size with 7 precious jewels, filling 1,000,000,000 very many worlds, equal to the number of grains of sand in the Ganges river, how many good karmic results will that person receive? Subhuti replied, a lot of it, Buddha. The Buddha told Subhuti, if a good person can engrave even just the 4 verse of this discourse on his heart, and explain it in detail for others, and show it to others, the good karmic results will be far more numerous, immeasurable, and immeasurably greater than the building of innumerable temples.
Chapter 12. Dharma teachings that even gods respect.
And wherever a person goes, if he explains this discourse, or lets even a part of it be heard, all the gods from heaven to hell will bestow beautiful flowers and delicious food on that person as carefully as they would on a Buddha pagoda. Even more so, if he engraves this Dharma text in your heart, read it, understand it, and show it to others in detail, then you don't need to say anything more about its meaning. Subhuti, such a person will acquire a rare Dharma in the world with the highest wonder, and he will remain a wise teacher.
Chapter 13. Dharma that frees the mind from the bondage of language.
Subhuti asked the Buddha a question. Buddha, what should we call this discourse as explained by the Buddha, and how can we keep it? The Buddha said, the name of this Dharma talk could be the state of crossing over to enlightenment through wisdom. As mentioned above, it should be clearly understood that not staying in the state of having passed over to enlightenment, and not staying in the state of not having passed over to enlightenment, is called the state of having passed over to enlightenment. Subhuti, how about this? Is there really any Dharma that the enlightened one told? Subhuti replied, the Buddha did not tell any Dharma. The Buddha told Subhuti, do you think every dust of the ground in a billion very many worlds is a lot? A lot of it, Buddha. Again, the Buddha told, it is called dust, because dust is the same as non-dust, and it is called the world because the world is the same as non-world. This is a condensed expression to explain in detail. There is no fixed entity, be it dust or the world. Furthermore, everything named according to this principle implies that there is no fixed entity. Let's take another example. Because the happiness of this world will someday be accompanied by non-happiness, the Buddha told that happiness is the same as non-happiness. And then called it happiness, with an expanded meaning, by combining things that do not stay in happiness and do not stay in non-happiness. This is not vain, because there is no entity, but it is the most specific plan for the ultimate ability to stretch toward the whole without being bound by a fixed entity. In other words, the Buddha confirmed that happiness in the everyday sense is not enough to reach the enlightenment of the ultimate happiness beyond life and death, because the effect ends with death. No matter how large, happy, and enjoyable it is. Next, in order to overcome the limitations and fiction of what was named like this, the Buddha informed us that he would call happiness with the meaning of expanding the happiness of partial affirmation to the happiness of total affirmation. The Buddha told Subhuti, how about this? Can Subhuti recognize an enlightened person by the 32 forms of a great person? Subhuti replied, no, Buddha. The Buddha cannot be seen in the 32 forms of a great person, because the 32 forms and the non-32 forms are the same. However, the Buddha named it so that, from now on, combining the two will be called the 32 forms. Again, the Buddha told, imagine if a good person gave up as many lives as the grains of sand in the Ganges River to do a noble good deed, and imagine if someone else engraved in their hearts even just the 4 verses of this discourse, and explained and showed it to others in detail. The good result of the former will be much smaller than the good result of the latter. For the karmic good result of the latter is immeasurable and immeasurably infinitely great.